Alright, there we go. So, two very strong opponents. And the reason why I'm going over this game is because let's see, what's a good reason to describe why I'm going over this game? It kind of felt like it was touching upon the idea that you can do too much in your game. Like sometimes, individually, like locally, this idea appeared good, or this idea appeared good. But on a whole, the idea just wasn't a very good one. It didn't really come together very well. The whole board kind of fell apart in regards to what you were doing or trying to do locally. And that's what we're going to see here. That's what we're going to see here. Now, regretfully, I do want to say that the opening is going to be rather boring to some people. And that is, oops, we have an Orthodox. A lot of people don't like the Orthodox because it has some rather simpler variations, let's just say. Like you enclose, what are you going to do now? You don't want your opponent to get, enclosure and extension, so you're probably going to approach. If you're old-fashioned, you might split. Pretty straightforward in terms of how you're going to make your response. Ooh, thank you for following. Compare that to, let's say, the Chinese variations, where your opponent slaps down a Chinese variation. What are the possibilities now? Well, you could actually play here, or here, or here, or here, or even there, or over there, or you can do that if you wanted to. That's a possibility, so is this one and that one. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities that you could do, for example, against the Chinese, which is why it's a favorite of a lot of players. But in terms of predictability, Orthodox, really predictable, because, you've got pretty much two choices. You're going to approach, or you're going to split, right? So, alright. Believe it or not, this is a game that was played very, very recently, and yet white chooses to split, which immediately had my attention, because I was wondering if maybe there was something new here that we didn't know. Because usually speaking, we've been kind of heavily going into the whole push at A, and then like maybe approach and expand to B and C, as to why we don't split this. So I was curious, why split? But much to my disappointment, we do not actually see that variation. We see the old school variation where pushes up from below, which is still okay. Don't get me wrong, it's still okay. It's just that a lot of people nowadays go into this variation, or even just straight out into this variation, because it's pretty easy and safe to develop with. But alright, we had the push, so we're going to get the extension, as you'd expect. Did not expect this, though. That is very unusual. Usually we split here. You had a strong position. White had the audacity to play a 3-space extension, so obviously you want to get in there and mess him up. Teach him that this is not something that you want him to do. Sadly, he didn't. He backed off, large knight. And now, unfortunately, and this is probably not fair at all to do, but for as long as I look at Go, I think from now on I'm going to equate the 4-4 large knight with old Chinese play. Because if you looked at the game where I went over Longsha's game, one of the legends of Go from China, back in his day, loved large knights. Loved 4-4 large knights. They were like all the rage. Everyone played them. You approached someone, you're probably going to wind up playing the large knight, not the small. So now I always equate that to Chinese play. I don't know if I should, but I do. But alright, fair enough. That's what happens. And white blocks here, which I thought was interesting, because I thought for sure, it's like, okay, maybe we're going to make this exchange. Maybe we're going to see if we can't make maybe a bit of a larger exchange. But instead, played here because I suppose once we end in Gote, you kind of allow your opponent to make quite a bit of an area on top of the board. So, alright. See a large knight there. Black takes Sente to approach. I thought for sure now he would go back and play this because he's got his enclosure, this thing still hasn't defended, so I'm just all over the place wrong. And that's part of the reason why I like going over games. To see how my thought process is breaking down. And in this one, it was breaking down immediately. Which is a warning, because I wasn't even considering, for example, playing this anymore because the other one is so much more in style. And that's a bad thing. You don't want to get in the habit of playing something just because of that reason. If you do, especially if you're in a tournament play, you definitely don't want to do it because you don't want someone, you know, having an idea of how you're going to respond before you do. So yeah, didn't expect this one, didn't expect this one, didn't expect that one, and this one is okay. This one's not blowing my mind. Now here I would expect get Sente, because we've got things here still, a bit unsettled. So I would think we want Sente, and I thought maybe take the attachment, because that'll usually give you Sente, because your opponent has to get a base. So that seems like a Sente play. But I think you could also pincer here to try to make use of your enclosure. That seems to be okay too. Can anyone tell me the danger of playing this move, though? Is there anything dangerous about playing c5? Or is it completely not dangerous? Dangerous? Not dangerous? Anything we should be wary of if we are going to play here? Anybody have any idea? Dasan says black might get Sente. If he sticks to Joseki, shouldn't get that, but it's possible. It is possible. Twitch chat says avalanche. That is not a basic response from all basic, but you are quite correct. If black descends here, as opposed to simply saying, look at me, I want a base, then this wall could go with the enclosure in the lower right hand corner. So we're developing. Now don't worry, we are not actually going to get into the large avalanche. We are going to simply Atari and then defend. I do want to point out the defense here, because some people would play this. I actually haven't seen this kind of fast framework in a while, simply because this is a... one second. Sorry. Simply because this is a really, really brutal counter to these 4 stones. Because you only have really 2 options here. Option 1 is to play this way, and this isn't fun because you're going to be hurting yourself in a minute. Option 2 is to play here. Also not fun because your opponent's going to be attaching to you and getting stronger. And then probably turn around attacking that K4 stone. So this, it's playable. I don't want to say, you know, oh, you better not play it. It's playable, but you have to be very careful because it's kind of difficult. It is kind of difficult. So we defend, we're nice and strong. Our opponent says, no, you cannot get all of that for yourself, good sir. So you forced him to create another group. That's another interesting difference between the two. This way, we're kind of like tempting that invasion, tempting the attack on our group. This way, we're also tempting an invasion, but we're nice and strong. And this will be coming up again. Yeah, so now we're nice and strong. And since we're nice and strong, and we know we're going to get invaded, this is going to be a very, very important thing to know later. For now, we push 2 strength. That's a good point. That's actually a really good point. Which way to push? Generally, you want to push towards your strength, towards your influence, and not away from it. I almost completely bypassed the nuance of this. But we don't really want to play this because it gives us a sense that, ooh, ew, yuck, we're overconcentrated, icky, icky, don't want to do that. So this way we extend from our enclosure and we're pushing him towards our solid area. Right? That is the idea here. Now, unfortunately, white doesn't actually do that. He turns here, which is risky. He's saying that I'm not really sure about K3. Okay. Black defends. How do you defend? Because we're not going to go crazy. We're not going to go crazy and be like, it's time to... I'm not going to click it. We're not going to do something crazy and say, it's time to like really attack this group. Because then our opponent gets stronger and then kind of just surrounds us with a huge wall. That's bad. That's bad. So we can't go too crazy. We also don't want to play a move like this or this. We don't want to like lean on it because that's just gonna keep making everything stronger. Inazuma says F3 or F5. Yep, basic shape. Now white tries to jump up. So it looks like this might be a small point in black's favor that white's not going to be totally comfortable with. Because right now, black is completely put white behind enemy lines. After the jump, are we still behind enemy lines? Are we still? I can't really draw a completely straight line here. But for the most part, yeah, kind of looks like we are. But here's the real question. What do you do now? What do you do now? This is a test to see if you're a professional. This is now a test to see if you're a pro. How do you respond here as black? Your opponent is still behind enemy lines. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Carrot Hoth says, I'm gonna split the left. Okay. Okay, LOL says that we're going to play H3. ATG says that we're going to cap. You all realize I'm smiling, so there's a trick to this question. There's obviously a trick to this question. The correct answer is not to attack the group because we know the group's going to live. We know the group's going to live because one group by itself can live. It's easy. Like, you've done life and death, you know how to live. We can do attachments, we can make like extensions. We're completely fine here. So what we want to do, if we have any chance of doing anything to this group, we need the board a little bit more complicated. We need those two things looking to live, not just the one. So here, we're going to create a little bit more complication, because white has to worry about the two stones, but that's about as far as that goes. White has to worry about the two stones. Black doesn't. Black is fine. Black protected his shape. Black has no reason to care about those two stones. That's all on white. So let's make the board a little bit more complicated and see what he does with those stones. So white goes to just try to settle. Alright. Gonna go and settle. Can anyone continue the sequence for me? Wow, I am a terrible liar. Every time I do something and I expect like a trick answer, I start smiling, and you can see me on camera, so that kind of gives it away. Your goal here, though, I will say, it's all local answer. Your goal here is to settle. Inazuma and Komi latte? A Komi latte. That sounds like it's gonna cause you to choke. Everyone's saying Q12. Q12, Q12, Q12. You're all wrong. You don't actually do that, believe it or not. Banan is on the right track though with invade the corner. We're actually going to Atari because we want to invade the corner. And there's no reason to exchange Q12 right now. So we do this. Our opponent doesn't want us to go over, so he connects. And then we have Sente to hit the 3-3. This is a really, really important thing to note if you ever found yourself in White's position here. Because we don't need to make those exchanges. We got Black to protect it for us, so we can't do that. And as a result, we get to hit the 3-3. Alright, so we're now in the corner. Black tries separate. Now we could just connect, but Black extends again. Because keep in mind, we can take S13 still, or T13, or whatever that is. We can take that stone later, so we have potential for I shape. So this is actually a free invasion, right? Black says never connecting back to that ever again, which I don't like. I would have actually preferred living in the corner. But then the problem is you're going to lose Sente here. You're going to go here, 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 and then bye-bye Sente. Here, maybe we keep Sente. Who knows? Let's find out. So he connects to try to live. Hane to try to disrupt that. Still looking for life. Pushes up instead of plays here. If you're playing here, then you're going to be in a very, very bad position because you're not alive yet. And if you're not alive right now, and you're still giving this away, game over. Way game over. Now you're behind enemy lines X2 because you're behind enemy lines here. You're behind enemy lines like up through here. This is not a good position. And if you have to live back in here, you'll probably be behind enemy lines this way too. So that would be horribly bad. This is just absolute worst thing that could ever happen in a game. So instead of that, we push out. Now you might say, but wait a minute. Can't Black cut here and take the corner back? Yes, absolutely. But if Black actually does that, then maybe Black's not a professional either. Because that would be incredibly small taking that corner back for yourself. Which is why Black plays this way. Because of the other variation, this variation. We would like this variation. This variation is amazing. So at the cost of a couple of extra stones, we're trying to kind of recreate that variation. So we play here, and we push, and now we see the problem with the game. Like, locally, what he's doing is okay, but globally, what he's doing leaves a little something to be desired. It seems like globally, White's not doing so hot. And now he's trying to peep a cut point. But that cut point, what's that cut point really trying to do? Because this group here can Atari and take. right? So as long as we recognize this, like, wait, if he plays here, I just play here and here, then I'm fine in the corner. So I don't have to connect that. So black comes out. White can cut, will not care, and will continue along with our life. Unfortunately, the cut has to be made, otherwise we're going to just resign and turn in our credentials. And now here's the gold. Here's where everything's trying to turn around. Everything is bet on this for white. We're going to harass these stones. That's what we're going to do. Strengthen the weakest stones first. If you caught yourself thinking, I can make so much territory here, you probably could, but that goes both ways. If you get into this variation, where you're just inviting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th line territory here, if you're inviting your opponent to take 8th line territory, then what you're saying, I can kill A. I can absolutely kill A. A is no problem. I can kill this in my sleep. But that's not something you can really say. So we can't give potentially 8th line territory away. Therefore, we can't make this exchange. So forget that. Instead, weakest group gets strength. Comes out. Weakest group gets strength. Keeping everything nice and localized. Unfortunately, the problem here, one second. I'd be terrified as white, so says Banan. It is a scary game. And a lot of that scariness resides in the fact that you done kept this little guy unsettled. And now you've got 2 things running around. That's always scary. That's why we pay attention and defend our stuff. Give it shape. Don't let it become a meme. Alright, so we're running away. Black is following. Yeah, I'm sorry. I saw your name memes and dank memes and I had yeah. So we're running away, but now we have to live, because if we keep running away, you have to think about this move here. And that hurts. Simple strategy, die everywhere. So alright, white's gonna live. Black's gonna get into Sente moves. But what I really like is how he's not betting everything on trying to kill this. He's just like, you know what? That is really, really tough to attack right now. So I'm just gonna keep building, because what would really suck is if you attack this, it lived in Sente, and then white gets to build back on 5th line. That would just be soul crushing. So really hard to attack it, and if he attacks it and lives in Sente, then the game switches, because 5th line instantly, right? So he's like, all right, I want to attack that, but I gotta kind of do something about some of this potential first. So we're gonna lean, we're gonna push. Again with a counterattacking. You can see that he's just not letting anything south of his position. Nice liberties. I hope you don't like them. Nice liberties. Nice liberties. And this is also another interesting position. Because by playing this way, rather than connecting, he's saying, you know what? I'm going to still just keep those 2 weak things on the board. That's all I'm going to do. You gave me an opportunity to create another weak thing on the board. I'm going to go after it. Seems good for me. Let's see if it's true this time. Should go after that. We played the disgusting move that I don't even want to look at. I'll just say Qs. Qs, if there are any Qs watching right now, 9 times out of 10, this is not a good move to play, so don't do it. 9 times out of 10. This one works, regrettably, because it does connect up. But let's say this stone wasn't here. You wouldn't play a diagonal and think you're saving anything. Not good, except if you have a pro rank. Exactly, Adorame. Exactly. Why not just J16? Okay, why not just J16? You asked the question, now you answer it. Why not just J16, Ina the Zuma, if that is your real name? Never mind, need to read. Well, that's a bad answer. The reason why we don't do that is because you're forcing your opponent to make this turn, which is also going to be Sente. Unless, of course, you want to just, like, allow this, which, I mean, you can, but, that's yucky. Plus, the only reason why you would not answer this is if you wanted to connect anyway, right? That's like the only reason you wouldn't do that. So rather than invite all of this in, you might as well just go ahead and connect, I guess was White's reasoning here. You think Black can Hane? Maybe. Wouldn't Black just play there? Or White? It's a white stone, it's not black, actually. I mean, you're not toast, but you're making terrible shape. Right? So you can avoid all that just by, doing that. Threatens to capture. White says no capture. Black saves. And saves. And is now slowly but surely pushing Black towards those 2 stones. But here's a problem. White managed to profit. So how do we attack this? Black pokes and drops down. You'd probably recognize that in a Q game, but it's the only way to really get rid of that shape. How do we handle the 3 stones? We now need to make shape here. We're not going to die. He ain't taking us alive. How do we make shape? How do we do it? M4. Yes, we're going to attach. We're going to lean on that which is strong, so our weak stones can become stronger. We kind of said this jokingly earlier in the stream. Go is kind of like high school. We're really, really weak, so we're just going to hang around all the strong kids so we can get stronger. That's how we're going to do it. So here we are hanging around the strong kids because we don't want to be weak anymore. Playing the Atari. Do not connect, obviously bad shape. I don't want to point that out, but I will. This is no good. You might say, it's great, I get to take a stone. You do, congratulations, and you still need an eye. You haven't found one yet. So this is bad, don't do it. So we're going to Atari instead. And then we're going to Atari instead. But the problem here is white out again. So black decides to reduce white's area. Bye-bye stones. We barely knew you. Bye-bye stones. Wait, what the? I'm confused. I did not remember that occurring in this game. Really? Huh. Well, you don't see that every day. White kills the one stone and allows that to be taken in Gote. So he can go back. Because of the Ko. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, we could connect here. And force this to live. But then this is a co-threat for the bottom, and this is a co-threat for the bottom, and this is a co-threat for the bottom. I see. That makes sense. So white retakes. Black threatens life in corner. Going back to Ko. Whoops. Let's answer it first, and then go back to Ko. Make that larger. And black gives it up. I like a little bit. I really like a little bit of what black is doing here. Because for some of us who might be overly aggressive, and maybe we get hung up on just trying to kill things, we're kind of being shown here that that's not the good thing to do. Chances are, like in this game, for example, if I was playing it, I know I'd be looking at these two stones like, oh my god, I have to kill them. Like, well, my opponent's left me no choice. They have to die. And if I can't kill them, I mean, he's just getting away with everything. But black is kind of showing us that we don't have to kill. We can just keep taking large points away while he's trying to live. And that's the superior lesson there. Not like, oh, how can we kill those stones? No, it's just you don't have to kill those stones. In fact, white is killing some of black stones, believe it or not. So we have this. A little bit of a counterattack going here. Now white needs to live in the middle, again, with another weak group. Connects up, makes life. Well, not quite alive yet, but we're getting there. Threatens that life. Tries to make more life. Tries to come out. Emergency connection means we're going to attach. White sees if we're really connected. Black says, yes, we're really connected. So white makes some shape. And at that point, white is just walked on over to his own group. This, surprisingly enough, is fought. We've got co-threats for the corner. I mean, do you see like how the effect of like all of these weak groups? I mean, this corner shouldn't really be that small, but now maybe it will be, right? This could actually wind up being white's corner from the beginning of the game. This thing had to live small. This thing has to live small. This thing has to live small. We're not killing anything, but we are forcing things to live very, very tiny, as we're seeing here. Connects as you would suspect. White has to not be dead. The Atari would keep it alive, that's for sure. But after that's ignored, kinda gotta go back and live. Strengthening the corner. Sacrifice. Sacrifice. White tries to reduce. So we connect. Now those stones are not healthy. Can in fact be killed. But white's going to take the opportunity and reduce. As we can see here. White further reduces. Now the fundamental problem about this game is that white doesn't have what we usually refer to as territory. Been mostly trying to reduce territory the entire game. And the problem with that is when you're just kind of running around trying to reduce a bunch of territory is you don't get a chance to make any for yourself. It's pretty straightforward. So, as a result, we've got this group living small. We've got this group living small. This group living small. The corner in the upper left is okay. It's pretty large. But this group is going to live small. And only group number 5 is going to be worth very much in the way of territory. Takes in order to live. Gets to slide further into the corner. That's very nice. So we separate this group, make sure it is its own group. White keeps reducing. That is the largest bomber I've ever seen. You are right about that. Dank memes. This is absolutely the largest bomber I've ever seen. Not quite symmetrical though. We need like that extra stone. No, actually, yeah, we do. That extra stone is what we need. Right now, one of its wings is a bit short. I forgot where he moved. Oh, right. Place here. Goes in for a reduction. Connects on up. Now the bottom is nice and large. White takes a point away. And this next sequence is really, really nice. Because right now, you might be tempted to think, okay, we've got, you know, some territory in here for white, maybe? Seems possible. But black clamps. Because if we connect, we're dead. Right? If we're like, hey, look at me, then he'll be like, yeah, look at you. You just died because there's no saving this, right? Stones have just been killed. So can't do that. So instead we clamp. For Atari. Reducing points. Reducing points. That was weird, because it doesn't really accomplish anything. All we have to do is connect. Connects here. I like that one too. Like if you connect here, that may have actually been a point lost. But if we connect here, he still can't double Atari. Only now, we keep that extra point. That's amazing. Absolutely excellent response. Could be time pressure, that's true. Getting reduced. Trying to get some territory on in. Push, push, push. Push, push, push. Then we reduce. We reduce. And we reduce. That is so unbelievably painful. Because not only is that painful for the obvious reasons that that your territory is disappearing, but has anyone else noticed yet that you're not alive yet? Like, pretty much anywhere. Have you noticed that one? If we connect here right now, as you are wont to do, what happens here? Do we go up? And up? Bad news. Very, very bad news. So the problem here is white has to resign. White needs too much. And if we connect this up, and this gets cut... Oh, right, that's an Atari. Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's what I was meant to say. Right. Right. Yep, that's an Atari. Mm-hmm. So even if we connect that, then we're still dead. And if we connect that, then we're still in trouble, because we need the other group not to die too. So not only are we being reduced beyond our capability to survive territorially, but our connections suck too. So that's game over. White resigns. I don't think he had to kill it, but the fact that it's that close to dying and all of your points are gone is still pretty impressive. So I thought that was an interesting game, simply because we are usually in, we're usually too aggressive. And we would be viewing this thing, like people would make the same, very common mistake, you know, attack this, hopefully it dies. If it doesn't, hopefully our opponent doesn't get Sente out of it. If he does, then we're just going to lose the game. That's a good plan. Instead, black showed clearly how small it can be to attack even a group that you think is weak and surrounded when there are other things to do on the board. And that right there is such an important lesson. It's also an important lesson in no matter how much you think you're okay, you might want to go and invest more stones in getting shape for yourself. Because you can see why even later on down the road, even if it takes to the entire end of the frickin' game, you might regret not being able to have just lived immediately when you had the chance. Just like not get that shape. So I think this was a good game because of that, because of those reasons. And I hope you guys enjoyed the game as well. Hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. Those of you who missed today's lecture, I will of course have it uploaded onto my channel within the next couple of days. Yeah, I will. So, hope you enjoyed that. And I will of course see you guys next time. Inazuma said, "That is hard to swallow. I mean, man, if a player makes a mistake, don't you want to ruin it before they can fix it themselves?" Well, if they fix it themselves, then, you see, the problem there is they're using Sente to fix it themselves. And if they're using Sente to fix it themselves, then you get a free move. Hopefully your moves are valuable. If your moves aren't valuable, I can see why this is a problem. In this case, you're okay. Though it does also kind of go back to timing. I mean, that wouldn't have been such a great game if black never attacked those two stones. Like, just ever. That would have been a problem. But as long as there are larger things to do on the board, then there are larger things to do on the board. Happy days.